All right, and welcome back to the YouTube. So not a bad day. Went 3-2 or 4-1, depending on what line you got on the Prairie View game. It's one of those pretty frustrating ones where, like, right when I published the video, the line had moved to 4.5. So I think most of you, if you did tail, probably got 4.5, and probably got a crazy backdoor 1 second left read for the cover. But unfortunately, I did officially take 3.5, so it's gonna be an L. But hopefully, some of you got the right side. In the Ohio State game, yeah, that game went to 2 OT. We had a chance. They were up like 9 in 3 OT, and then they just hit like 3 crazy threes in the last like 30 seconds of the game. If they miss even one of them, they probably give up. But almost a backdoor there, but unfortunately doesn't end up covering. So slight gain on the day. We take it. So let's move on to the 5 games that I like today. All right, so looking into today's slate, the first game we have is Kentucky at Georgia. So when I look at this game, just from a high level, this is Kentucky's coming off a big win against Florida. They're traveling to Georgia, where Georgia's coming off a rough loss against Ole Miss. So the matchup is perfect for Georgia to have a good bounce back at home game against a great Kentucky team. Plus, if you look at the stats, Kentucky's 4-7 against the spread after they win a game, and Georgia is 1-0 after they lose a game. So I think this is a great spot for Georgia to probably overperform in Kentucky to underperform. If you dig a little bit more into the numbers, you'll see that Kentucky really likes to score almost all of their points near basket and take a lot of threes, and they take a lot of near basket shots. They also get a decent amount of points off of steals and second chance opportunities. But if you look at the matchup for Georgia, they're actually pretty good at defending the two things that Kentucky likes to shoot from, which is the three and the near point. Georgia's the 9th best defense against the near basket shots and the 47th best against the three-point shot. So if Kentucky's forced to take a lot of mid-range shots, it's their least efficient shot of everything they can take, and it's also the shot that they hit the least. So I kind of like their chances in this spot. Then if you go on the other side to Georgia, Georgia likes to pretty much take all of their shots near basket. They don't really take any threes or mid-range shots, and they get a bunch of second chance opportunities and a bunch of points off steals. And if you look at the matchup, Georgia has their best matchup in the paint. They are the 10th best at near basket percent shooting, and Kentucky gives up 237th most points in the paint. So I think Georgia's just going to live there and get a shit ton of free points, and they're 10th best in the nation at getting second chance opportunities. So I think they're also going to, if they miss that shot, they're going to get another one. They'll probably get a bunch of steals, even though Kentucky's pretty good at not turning the ball over. I think Georgia, just because they're 64th best in the nation, they will get a few off of Kentucky, especially if Kentucky falls behind a little bit. I think the really only thing going for Kentucky here is that they have a much harder schedule, 60th versus Georgia's 203rd. But all the momentum with Georgia, they play really good at home. They're the more consistent team. Yeah, I think Georgia might win this game outright, but I'll take the 2.5. All right, so the second game that I like today, probably my least favorite of the 5 games today, but I do like Ohio to go on the road and beat Buffalo. When you look at this Ohio team, they're actually being pretty solid, and they've been super unlucky. So they're due for a lot of positive regression. I think the top 20 team due for positive regression in the nation. And they have had a pretty good record. They have been like an almost borderline top 100 team this year in terms of their performance. They play really good on the road. They played some pretty decent opponents. Same with Buffalo, but Buffalo hasn't really performed, well against upper class components. And if you look at the matchups, Buffalo is just a significantly worse team on both ends. So Ohio's 136th in offensive efficiency to Buffalo's 332 in defense efficiency, and Buffalo is 316th offense efficiency to Ohio's 170th. And when you really dig into the numbers, Buffalo likes to take a lot of threes, and that is where they technically do have an edge. Ohio doesn't defend the three well, but Buffalo doesn't shoot the three that well. They're 245th in the nation, shooting at like a 32% clip. That's not really something that I think is going to be very successful for them, if that's really the only shot they're going to be able to get off. And then everything else, steals, Ohio won't give up probably a lot of boards to them. They probably won't get a lot of steal points. And if they want to try to live in they pretty much only have to shoot threes. Buffalo will probably shoot like 40 threes this game. And if they're not falling, I think Ohio's just going to run away with this game. If you look on the other side, Ohio's going to dominate the boards. They're going to get a shit ton of points off steals. They're going to hit all their threes. Ohio also is a team that likes to take threes, 87th in the nation, and their matchup's even better. They have the 90th best three-point shooting team against the 362nd. So they basically both suck at defending the three, but one team shoots three is just much, much better than the other. So I just think this is going to be a pretty fast-paced game. It's just going to be both teams kind of shooting threes back and forth, but if Buffalo misses, Ohio State will probably get the rebound, and if Ohio misses, which they technically should miss less, they're also going to have a shit ton of chances on the boards. So I just think Ohio should run away with this game. Yeah, not my favorite game on the board, but it's probably my fifth game that I wanted to bet today. All right, so the third game that I like today is actually Kansas State to go and beat Oklahoma State on the road. So when I look at this matchup, I just see an Oklahoma State team that is just the definition of mid. They really don't do anything well. They're low 200s in all of their shooting. They're ranked 220th in offense efficiency. They're decent at getting free throws, but Kansas State gives up the 29th least for free throws in the nation, so they're probably going to struggle on that front. And Oklahoma State also loves to get points from steals, but Kansas State is ranked number 1 in the nation at keeping the ball. So they probably aren't going to be able to score very easily this game, where they typically like to score. And if you look on the other side, Kansas State is the 75th in offense efficiency, and they like to get a lot of points off threes and near basket, which is where they have favorable matchups versus Oklahoma State's defense. And they also really like to get points off the glass, second chance opportunities, where they are ranked 105th in the nation to Oklahoma State's 311th. So this is just one of those games that when I look at it, there's not a single, other than Oklahoma State being home, which they haven't been good at home. They're one of the worst teams at home. There's just nothing really exciting about this Oklahoma State team to me personally. I think Kansas State goes in and in its Big 12 matchups and just probably completely dominates them on both sides of the ball. All right, so the fourth game that I like today is actually Auburn to go into Texas and just completely destroy them. So this Texas team, I don't really think is that great this year. They're not a top 50 team by any means. And me personally, I have Auburn maybe tied with Tennessee, maybe slightly above Tennessee as the best team in college basketball. And if you look at the schedule strength, Auburn has played the 16th hardest, and Texas has played the 284th. So Texas has really not played anyone good. And when they have played some decent teams, they've kind of got crushed. They got crushed by Texas A&M. I can't remember. They've got crushed by some other major team. I don't think they're ready for what Auburn is going to throw at them. So if you look at the matchup, Auburn, they're the best field goal percentage team in the nation. They shoot a bunch of threes. They shoot a bunch of mid-range. And they basically shoot everything, and they shoot it all really well. And if you look at the matchups, the mid-range, they're the second best in the nation to Texas, 244th. They're the 10th best three-point shooting team to Texas' 102nd defense. They shoot a lot. They get a lot of shots off. And they're also decent free. They're not a great free throw shooting team, but if it ever comes down to that, they will probably make most of their free throws. Plus, they get a lot of points off of steals and second chance opportunities. Texas does, if give some credit, they don't give up a lot of turnovers, but Auburn is still the 30th best in the nation, and they probably still will get some turnovers and points on the offensive glass. And on the other side, Texas, again, they're going to be stifled by this insanely good Auburn defense, sixth best in the nation. If you look at what Texas likes to do, they like to take a lot of mid-range shots, which again, I hate those, and points off steals. And if you look at the mid-range matchup, they're 121st best at mid-range shots to Auburn's 9th in mid-range field goal percentage allowed. They don't give up any second chance opportunities. Auburn's pretty good at containing the ball. They won't give a lot of steals for Texas. I just think this will be a grindy game. Texas is going to get probably really frustrated. They haven't played anyone this good yet this year. And Auburn has played really, really good teams where this is going to feel like they're going to like a high school game. So I think Auburn's going to win by easily 10, probably 15. Texas could turn it on. You never know at these SEC home games, but I just think Auburn is just too good of a team here to let Texas do anything to them. All right, and the last game that I like today is going to be Utah State to go into San Jose State and probably destroy them. If you look at the matchups, San Jose they've been playing well as of late, and Utah State's kind of been digressing a little bit. But I don't know. I have Ohio State or Utah State as a top 30 team right now in the nation. I have a future on them to win it all. It's kind of a sneaky underdog out of the Mountain West. But they play really good on the road this year. They have the fourth best record quality, meaning they've played against really hard teams and they played really well against them. So this is going to be a matchup that should be really favorable for them. If you look at where they like to shoot, they're basically one of the best offensive teams in the nation. They shoot basically all of their points off the near basket, and they'll occasionally shoot some threes. But because of where they do shoot, they get a shit ton of second chance opportunities just because they're always under the basket, and they also steal the ball a lot on defense. And if you look at the matchup, Utah State is 104th in near basket offensive efficiency to San Jose State's worst defense, which is 297th. It's the one thing that they can't seem to stop. And then on the offensive glass, Utah State's the 43rd best in the country, and San Jose State's the 215th. So I just think Utah State's just going to keep going in the paint, and they're probably just going to keep getting free points because San Jose just hasn't been able to stop that very easily. Plus, if you look at it, Utah State is a 34th in free throws, and they shoot them pretty well. They're not like an insane free throw shooting team like Wisconsin, but they'll get 75% probably in most games. On the other side, if you look at San Jose State, again, they also really like to shoot in the near basket area and the mid range. The only shot where they're honestly going to have any chance against Utah State is the mid range because they're just so tall and strong that like near basket shots and second chance opportunities probably will be non-existent in the entire game. And San Jose State is the 60th best in the nation from the mid range, and Utah State doesn't defend it well. They're 321st in the nation. But again, if you know me well enough, I hate the mid range shot. I don't think it's necessarily that valuable of a shot, and especially when you're running around a lot, it's a pretty hard shot to make, and Utah State plays at a pretty high pace. I just think if they're not going to be able to get into they're going to have to take some really tough mid-range shots, especially people on their team that probably don't really like to take mid-range shots. I just not a fan necessarily of always taking road favorites in these matchups. I have Utah State winning this game by 16. I think this is a mismatch. And I think Utah State, even though they are technically due for some regression, I just think I just don't see a world where San Jose State can stay around with them. So Utah State minus 9.5 as my final game today. And let's go to the summary. All right, so those are my 5 favorite games for January 7th, 2025. If I had to go in order, so like requests I'd gotten in my order of my favorite games, I would probably say Kansas State is probably my favorite game tomorrow. And then Auburn, Georgia, Utah State, and Ohio. That would be my order of confidence. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you tomorrow.